Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Leading by Example, our little Friday. Let's give you some tips and just jump in there and be imperfectly us, because that's exactly what we're talking about today. Is this Sunday, I am actually launching my Mama Genius Hub podcast, and you know what? The to-do list is like that long, and it's all things I should have had done before I decided to launch something. But you know what? I'm going to show up anyways, and we're just going to embrace the imperfection, and it's going to be what it is.
I love that approach. I love that mindset. I love everything about it because I'm not going to lie. I get so worried and caught up in wanting to have every single thing that it prevents me from actually executing. And based on the circles and my experience that I've had through your journey and through all of your groups and your weekly groups, I have learned that there's no such thing as perfect. We're never gonna have every single thing that we need.
My
And
hair.
yeah, I know. And until we get to that point where we realize we are doing a disservice to those that we want to serve by preventing ourselves or holding ourselves back from just executing and showing up.
Right. It's about showing up. And so even like when mention the word women's circle to some people, they're like, oh, what does that mean? And what it actually means is showing up exactly as you are. Mess, hair, whatever, because it's about visualizing who we are and what we're doing. That's what the podcast even all is about, is us finding what is that genius inside of us. Because the more we are doing the things that we enjoy doing, the better we're gonna get them anyways. But I am definitely admitting I'll be leading very imperfectly this weekend.
And I already know because I've been in the backgrounds through a lot of this. You're going to do fantastic, and nobody is even going to know that you were stressing or that you're feeling imperfect. It always is a great delivery. I know every time I leave Mama's Circle, I walk away feeling lifted.
And I think that's just what it is we get so locked in our heads about what it should be that the actually is so much better that just because we showed up. But if we wait and say it has to be perfect before I can do anything, or this has to be going, or this has to be that right, which I've seen a lot too as well. Because it's funny, the reason why the podcast even came to be about was my birthday was a couple weeks ago. On that day, I had a meeting with the person who had been helping with my blog. I get off the call. I'm almost in tears. He doesn't know it, but I'm in tears because I'm like, I can't do this. Like, it was just so overwhelming that I was trying to do this blog. What I was doing, which you probably have seen, is I was doing interviews, trying to take the transcripts and then turn them into a blog, which is like one extra step into just having a podcast.
It is. It really is.
But I was almost afraid of my own voice and of getting out there. And I think that was that fear. And all of a sudden I was like, when I got off, I'm like, I can't do this. It has to be a podcast launch. So I kept the date and just switched from a blog to a podcast launch and just went full in, not knowing what it's going to look like or what it's going to be. But I was like, that finally felt right. Like, I talked to a couple people that week. They're like, you're finally like completely lit up. And it's ironic that I'm leading a Genius Hub podcast for moms, like, to figure out your genius. It's taking me that launch to figure out mine in terms of what is actually inside me that needs to come out, and actually listening to those whispers, because I think we forget about that so often.
And that is so in line with what you're saying by leading by example. And I would love to give some tips or thought-provoking ideas. And clarity is most important. Being clear on the message you want to deliver is more important than worrying about showing up imperfect. That nobody is perfect. Nothing in the world is perfect, period. Like, as soon as that can be accepted, then I think that the courage comes into play. When you have clarity and courage combined, you're unstoppable. And here you are leading by example and showing just exactly that. You said you're launching this weekend. Tell our listeners more about that.
Yeah. So Sunday night at 7 p.m. Central, there'll be a launch party. And Agape will be helping me MC it. And so it'll be all in Zoom, just going through what the podcast is, have prizes, have lots of fun. Just come. I'm not going to even say the word right now. Never mind. The word's there and it's not come out. See, here I am imperfectly. But it's really just to come together and really just be what we're in this together, and show up as you are. I don't even know if I'm going to put lipstick on, because you know what? It's all about just being who we are and having some fun with it and lifting each other up and celebrating together. So that will be Sunday. And then Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, there'll be live, a lot of the first podcast guests will be coming on and just talking with me live. They'll be posted through YouTube, Facebook, and the Facebook group. And so then inside the Facebook group that I have connecting mamas, there'll be some chances to, share your thoughts and dive into it, and then also get some prizes if you're doing there'll be five prompts throughout the week just to help you dive in and thinking. And if you're participating, you'll get some prizes as well. So there'll be prizes of launches, there'll be prizes in the groups as well. And then it's going to end Thursday night at 7 p.m. Central. We'll have a women's circle to finish off the night and really experience that. And I'm hoping throughout the week, as people get a little bit more excited, learn more about the podcast, that they'll be in the place where they're like, yeah, I can show up. I'm not afraid anymore. Because that's what this is. It's about kind of getting out of the comfort zone a little bit and stepping into something that you don't necessarily know what it's about. But again, the women's circle is such an experience, and you coming into my world can maybe share a little bit about what that was like for you, never having done it before.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, the first time I was in that circle, I was like, I don't know how I'm supposed to participate. I felt awkward, but I also understand how important community is. And once the first person in the circle spoke, I was like, okay, I can do this. And thank goodness I was like the fourth or fifth person, because by the time it got to me, I was so relaxed. Because I think for most of us, when we're like in that setting, we don't want to be the first to talk. We're nervous about how we're going to sound. Oh my gosh, is what I'm saying what I'm supposed to be saying? But your circle brings an open field. Say whatever's on your mind. You tell us that every single time. Whatever you're feeling, whatever's on your mind, nothing is nonsense. It's what you're in the present. Now share that. And to me, I was like, wow, I've tried this a lot of other times and failed every time. But this one here was so different. And that's why I have stayed. I'm now loyal to your brand, to your journey. And I don't plan on leaving. I actually walk away feeling empowered and elevated each and every time. And I'm all about being your incredible self. So as a mama, leading by example, we have to show our children and leave those footprints behind so they could understand and see our walk, because they only have, a childhood of a, small amount of years that they're even going to remember. But when they're adults and they're thinking back of their childhood, we are that example that they had all that time.
Speaking of my children, I actually have to tell you the story. It happened this morning. I've been trying to get my daughters. We've had this thing where they were supposed to watch something specifically educational on TV, and it just kind of went through the way cracks. And I was like, so I tried to get them to meditate with me for 3 minutes in the morning, and I was kind of doing it the last couple mornings and was going okay. But it had sparked me. I had met with a group of women from Gather the Women, some of the leaders and stuff, and I was going to work with them as well. But they inspired me in terms of thinking about the children in terms of circles. So what I did with my daughters today is the three of us sat in circle this morning. We did a little mini circle before school, and they were like, Mom, this is better than meditation. I can do this. Mm-hmm. And so it was day one today, but I just filled my heart to see them, the process starting, and like that they were like, okay, I can do this. And I was like, first steps, baby steps. And this is baby steps to starting that connection, getting back to who we are. And I'm just so excited to keep doing this with them and start the process with the kids.
And honestly, when you were saying that, I'm thinking, 2-3 months down the line, I mean, you're going to see them wanting it, craving it, probably developing that amongst their friends at school, because it is that powerful, that catchy. And in hindsight, you're teaching like mental and emotional awareness. What are your intentions? What are you feeling now? What do you want to do? What are your potential distractions or disruptions? So when you see them coming, you already know how to like mitigate them, right?
Yep.
And then raising that emotional intelligence. That emotional awareness turns into emotional intelligence. And that's how powerful this circle is.
Well, on that note, I do have in front of me, I always care. These are the circle principles from Jean Shinoda Bowden. I just wanted to read them to people just so they have an idea of why it's a little bit different. So we are creating a sacred space. It's not like what we call religious. It's just sacred. It's where we're going to create energy between us. We open and close by hearing each voice. And again, even if the it's passed to you and you're not ready to speak, you always have the option to pass. Like you never have to speak if it's not willing to come from the heart. You don't have to. It's nothing's forced. But that you are, though, speaking and listening directly from the heart. That we're trying to get as much as we can out of the head. And then we listen with this discernment instead of judgment. Because we're not trying to judge what people are saying. We're trying to listen intently and learn and be part of their energy and what's going on. We're not judging anyone for what they do. And that's the biggest thing about circle is the judgment stays at the door. And we really work on that. And we speak from our own experience. We don't speak from other people or stuff. We just speak from our journey, where we're at, what we need. And again, we're not sitting in complaining, but we're sharing where we're at. So if that's a struggle, you're sharing that, but we're not living in these things. And I've noticed a lot of times with women, it's like, sometimes it feels like we're living in those complaints when we share. And so this is all about sharing wherever you're at, whether struggle, joy, and not to be afraid to share the joys as well. Because sometimes we're always like, oh, I can't put myself up that they're going to think I'm too full of myself or something. This is about celebrating yourself, being wherever you are at, struggle, joy, whatever you need to share, and holding in confidence, because what stays in circles stays in circle. And use silence for reflection, meditation, prayer. So there'll be moments of silence and times where we're just there to just reflect on what we're doing. And that's the circle principles and the guiding force of what's behind this type of group. I don't even like that word, but what we create in circle. And so these are just types of conversations we can create, whether you come to my circle, but just thinking about these circle principles. And that's, if you come listen to the podcast, I'm going to be hosting, interviewing a lot of circle leaders so you can get ideas. So even if, to create your own circles. Again, this is a type of discussion, type of getting in deeper with people and learning more about each other and this human existence we have, and sharing the humanness of each other really powerfully, and changes the way you look at people completely.
I need to sign up right now because I want to create my own circle. As you know, I talk about domestic violence, and that's a very uncomfortable topic, and it's a very imperfect moment in everybody's life. And it's sensitive, like I said, and although the statistics show that so many men and women are exposed to that, it's something that is still fills us with shame or embarrassment, and we don't talk about it. And I've learned along my rough journey, talking and coaching with many people, that, it doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter who you are, your title, your race, your religion. We are impacted. And, I was so afraid and showing up so imperfect because of such the touchy topic, and people, not being so willing to open up. And, I have really learned to just accept that I'm going to show up imperfect every time because it's sensitive, and whoever is willing to open up and share, then, I can help coach them and guide them down certain journeys to level up their coping skills and lead by example because of my personal experience, But that community, that what you're talking about, that circle, that is the community where you feel uplifted. It's the people around you that are connecting. That's why it's connecting circles, connecting mamas. The circle is for connecting. And what I have seen come out of some of them is just so impactful, because when you can connect with somebody that has been there, done that, or can associate, the networking and the camaraderie that takes place right afterward. I mean,
there's the word I wanted.
Yes.
I couldn't say it today.
So excited. I just want to run a mile around the uphill, and I want to stay feeling like that every day of my life. But the community is so freaking important. Connecting is so important.
It really is. I mean, it's one of our, we don't even admit sometimes that really is one of our basic needs as humans, is to belong and connect. But it's how do we belong and how do we connect? And for so long, we've been so disconnected. I mean, you think about, we live in our little houses, we drive our little cars. And I mean, women used to be by I think we've said this before, or at least I have, where they're by the water and they were doing their laundry, but together, having conversation when they're doing it. Now we're like doing all that stuff solo in our own heads, stuck in our own minds. And so how do we break that cycle? It's like baby steps back into connection. That's where I even went virtually with these circles before in-person circles, because I think we need to break that cycle slowly. Then once you get the comfort and ability, then you're able to create that in-person circle. So to come in and create that in a way that's not, because we all have that trauma inside of us, that time when a girl told us you don't belong here, or whoever told you that at some point. And if it's never happened to you, wow. But I mean, through my whole life, that's why I even did what I did when I created Connecting Mamas. And so it's like, how do we release some of that? We do it through the baby steps. And then all of a sudden, once you release those layers, all of a sudden you're like, whoosh, go full in.
Yeah, and you know what you said that I responded to so dramatically there was, you know, your psyche, your mindset, right? If you do not have your mental house in order, everything that you do, actions, responses, correspondences, approaches, it's following where you are mentally. So get your
Yes.
mental house in order so that you can have that clarity to gain that courage to go out there and influence and impact and be of service.
I love that so much, because I've been working on answering the question, what's more? Because as moms, we get into that idea like, I can't have more, right? Like, I should be grateful for where I'm at. But really, that's the deep inside of us. And that really comes to what you just said, is the service, is to having that purpose, doing something more, leaving your mark on this world, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you can't do that if you're doing everything for everyone else first.
That's
And
right.
you keep hearing the words, fill your own cup first. Well, what does that mean? Really? Let's break that down a little bit practically. Is in terms of like when your kids come at you screaming, like, you know, they're going to scream at you or whatever at times, right? But if you didn't get enough sleep, or if you're hungry at that moment, all of a sudden you're going to get irritable right away and yell right back. However, if you had meditated, or if you journaled, or if you were on a full stomach and they come yell at you, it's a completely different situation, even though they're doing the same thing. So it really doesn't matter what the outside is doing. It matters what's in here. And by filling your cup, you got yourself food, you got yourself exercise, you got yourself nourished, that when that comes at you, you're like, oh, okay, well, that's coming at me, but I'm gonna be able to deal with it, versus just not gonna be able to do it. Hey, Megan, got one of my old students in English. How are you? What were we gonna say, Agape? I cut you off.
Oh, that's okay. No, and I was gonna say that goes right back to leading by example. If you know, when we're talking about children, okay, and they're toddlers and they're, you know, of course you're not gonna meet them where they're at. When they're teenagers, you might double think that you're gonna meet them where they're at, you know. But to your point and to what the topic of, you know, our conversation is today, leading by example, yes, you know, it gets a little tricky when it comes to the parenting side of that because the respect is mandatory. But you know, it's still leading by example. And so if you choose to meet them where they're at, if they're coming and yelling and all that kind of stuff, then what example are you setting? You know, because think that that's the emotional intelligence that you're giving them too, how to handle their emotions, and then how you're responding to them. That's what they're going to take into their adulthood. And that's the type of relationship they may have with their partner. So, you know, it's very hard to keep that in mind real time, especially if you're feeling disrespected. But lead by example so that the greater good is down the road.
I mean, you got to think about when you have teenagers with the older kids, right? There's going to be times when it's a touchy subject. They're going to talk back. They're going to try to test their boundaries. When you go in to have a deep conversation with them, are you in a space where you're able to do it, even if they're going to yell at you, that you're not going to yell back when it's a touchy subject? If that's the case, if the answer is no, then it's probably not a good time to have that conversation, right? And to make a time that, you know, that, and especially with the teenagers, their brains are really dislodged from their brain. It's science, right?
Scientifically proven. Yes.
Scientifically proven. That is where they're at. So you're trying to give them those skills as an adult to see what's like. So if you can't, with your adult brain, do that, then walk away.
And the brain does not reconnect until like age 20, 21. So that disconnection of those compartments in their brain, it really is dealing with a toddler all over again, but with the mouth. So that truly is our biggest challenge, I believe, in motherhood, is dealing with our teenagers, leading by that example that, you know, we want them to be led by, and that's on us.
So how do we have those conversations? We do it by having the women's circle, or having our own conversations pre-hand, and giving ourselves that chance to fill our cups first, then go in deep, knowing they're going to pour that out right away, but we filled it so full that we're going to have a chance to have a with them. that we're going to be able to have a chance to have that conversation with them. Because I was right there last week with my son, who we had a horrible parent-teacher conference, but I held my ground in terms of not yelling back. And he said he never wanted to talk to me again. And he was coming out outside, and I was driving past to take the girls to school, and I didn't even acknowledge him. Half an hour later during swim class, I had a 5-minute apology video from him, which has never happened before. But it shows when we do lead by example and we don't react back to them.
Yes, there's a difference between reacting and responding. You are absolutely correct.
The more we do that, the more we're setting that example that they're going to lead by. And we're not perfect. Not saying it's going to happen all the time, but our goal is to do as much as we can.
That's right. So let people know where we can find you this weekend. Where can we sign up?
So this weekend, I was going to say if you go to Facebook for Connecting Mamas business page, there's a link right to the live event to get all the details and sign up. And then you can go to connectingmamas.com and find the details as well. Actually, I don't know they're as handy. So Facebook was probably the best way to sign up. I'll try to put the links below this right now before I forget. Other than that, I look forward to the podcast. There's a live trailer right now, but on Sunday at 1 p.m. there'll be 4 episodes going live. Mama Genius Hub podcast. You can find it on all your local podcasting places. And what about you, Agape?
Me, where you can find me at beyouриncredibleself.com and or confrontingdomesticviolence.org. And pretty soon I'll have a link to drop in for the virtual reality space that I'm entering into. Ooh.
I can't wait. I am so excited by that. You are taking things to a new realm. I'm putting the link in right now before I forget to sign up directly for all the launch details, and really just come listen to the podcast and share. Give me a comment if you feel like it. Give me a comment, give me a review, good or bad. I am open to all feedback. It's not that way. So anyways, thank you all. And you have an amazing weekend. And remember to lead by example.